There's been a very interesting attack made by, or rather exposed by Hate Not Hate, Hope Not Hate. And they were targeting a fellow called Paul Marshall, who probably you don't know. Paul Marshall owns 42% of gbnews. He's worth £630 million, and he's trying to buy the Spectator and the Telegraph if they're not bought by a foreign state in the before he gets his hands on them. That's going to give him extraordinary power over the conservative media. Now, Hope Not Hate have drawn attention to a number of tweets that he has liked. One, which in a rather testy interview with a fellow called Michael Walker on GB News yesterday, I think, Ben Leo said the actual photograph was about, and the actual discussion was about rapists. But it looks like these were tweets about the persecution of Muslims in this country, about tweets about civil war in Europe, about tweets about closing borders and mass expulsions. And this isn't very positive, but these were tweets which were liked. These weren't tweets which were put out by Sir Paul Marshall. They were liked. Now, there was one tweet that he did, in fact, he reposted, and I think that was rather foolish. This was a tweet about Pascal's Wager. Pascal's Wager is the most extraordinary piece of double Dutch, really. It's chop logic. Let's believe in God just in case he might be real. And God may or may not be real, says the tweet. But even if God was not real, believing in him would fend us off against homosexuality, and so and a few other things, and so that makes belief in God necessary, and I find that deeply offensive. Now, I suspect the point is that Paul Marshall didn't realise what he was tweeting, and now Ben Leo says that all his tweets have been erased, that his account, which is only followed by 5,000 people, has been stopped, and making things private, making things erasing tweets is one way forward. Now, what Ben Leo went on to say was that the majority of normal people agree with what Paul Marshall was saying. I don't think that's necessarily true, but I think Paul Marshall is, on the other hand, promoting a certain amount of debate. And although the conversation with Michael Walker was testier than I would have liked, it is testament to the fact that this is a channel which is beginning to get other voices on to debate the issues of the day, and that level of debate is taking place in a way that it isn't taking place on, for example, the BBC or ITV or even Channel 4 at the moment. What we're getting there, particularly on the BBC, is simply a repeat of headlines again and again and again and again and again. Well, we're getting an element of that on GB News and Talk TV as well. But would it not be wonderful? Would it not be wonderful if we got slightly less repetition and slightly more informed debate? And looking at the background of issues, because people come to these channels and they come to a particular story and they want to know more, and they may not have been watching the channel for weeks, hours, months beforehand, and they would like this story unpacking. And here is an opportunity to unpack a story in an incisive and grown-up way. And yet, at the moment, what we're getting is either an echo chamber or a series of emasculated headlines. What we want is something like we used to get in the 1980s with Radio 4. By the way, if you go on the BBC website and you try and find Radio 4 on sounds, you have to go onto schedules in order to get it. It's outrageous. It's shocking. I must answer the phone.